In 1933, Washington told the American people to leave food growing to the professionals, trust the banks with their savings, and ditch the old home remedies their parents swore by. Certain towns even levied fines against families who kept visible gardens. Folk medicine got slapped with the label of quackery, but the families who kept quietly doing things the old way, the ones who paid no attention to those official messages, are the ones who made it through. Number 14 on this list was something federal agencies actively campaigned against for decades. Yet recent university research confirmed it outperforms a $12 commercial product you can buy at any grocery store today. Number 3 involves a chemical process that food scientists still have not found a way to top. These 20 survival strategies were so effective that entire corporate industries rose up around the goal of making sure you never thought about them again. Before we dive in, make sure you hit subscribe, because some of what you are about to hear could put real money back in your pocket. Let us get into it. Number 20, the grease jar. Walk into any Depression-era kitchen, and you would find a tin can or a mason jar sitting near the back of the stove. Inside was rendered bacon grease, strained clean and ready to use. Nothing was poured down the drain. That fat went into the skillet for eggs in the morning, potatoes at lunch, and cornbread in the evening. It greased baking pans and conditioned cast iron. One product doing the work of butter, lard, and cooking oil combined. Bacon ran about 22 cents a pound in 1933. Saving the drippings effectively turned one purchase into two. After World War II, vegetable oil corporations poured millions into advertising that painted animal fat as a health hazard. Crisco positioned hydrogenated shortening as the clean modern choice. We now understand that those manufactured trans fats caused far more harm than the simple rendered grease they replaced. Meanwhile, families in Appalachia and across the rural South kept their grease jars going and never stopped. Some of them never will. Number 19, flour sack clothing. A 50-pound sack of flour cost about $1.50 during the Depression. But resourceful mothers quickly discovered the cotton fabric of the sack was as valuable as what was inside it. Once manufacturers caught on that women were cutting the bags into dresses, aprons, curtains, and quilts, companies like Pillsbury began printing their sacks with colorful patterns. Women would dig through stacks at the general store, hunting for matching prints to finish a garment. One sack could clothe a small child. Two made a woman's blouse. The federal government never encouraged this. Textile manufacturers certainly did not advertise it. Yet American mothers turned packaging into wardrobes without spending a dime beyond the flour they already needed. Today, we spend premium money on organic cotton and market it as sustainable fashion. Our great-grandmothers were practicing zero-waste living 90 years ago with a pair of scissors and a treadle machine. Number 18, dandelions as groceries. Before chemical companies taught American homeowners to wage war on dandelions, Depression-era families treated them as a food source. Women and children gathered the greens by the basketful from fields and roadsides. Young leaves went raw into salads. Older leaves got boiled down with vinegar and salt pork. Dried and roasted dandelion root became a passable substitute for coffee. When real coffee at 26 cents a pound was an unaffordable luxury, dandelion greens outperform spinach on nearly every nutritional measure, dense with vitamins A, C, and K, along with iron and calcium. The problem is that you cannot build a brand around a free weed. So the lawn care industry spent decades conditioning Americans to spray herbicide on something their grandparents were eating for dinner. The USDA never pushed foraging during the Depression. They were too busy propping up commodity crops, but the families who foraged came through leaner and healthier than those who did not. Number 17, stretching ground, meat with oats. When ground beef cost 12 cents a pound and 6 mouths needed feeding, you did not make a 1-pound meatloaf. You made a 2-pound meatloaf. The trick was rolled oats soaked in a splash of milk until soft, then mixed directly into the meat along with an egg and whatever seasoning was on hand. The oat paste absorbed moisture during baking and held the loaf together while doubling its bulk. Every slice was tender. Nobody left the table hungry. The same method worked in meatballs and hamburger patties. A large canister of oats ran about a dime and lasted weeks. Fine dining chefs today call this technique a panade when they use bread instead of oats and charge you $40 a plate for the privilege. Your grandmother called it Wednesday. Modern recipes that skip this step produce meatloaf that is dense, dry, and falls apart. We forgot the science she understood by feel. Number 16. Survival gardens came first. Most history books credit victory gardens to World War II patriotism. The real story is that American families were digging survival gardens a full decade earlier. By 1934, relief agencies estimated over 6 million families were cultivating food in backyard plots and vacant city lots. Tomatoes, potatoes, corn, beans, and squash. Hundreds of jars canned each fall to carry families through winter. A 10-cent seed packet could produce 50 pounds of tomatoes. Here is the part that never makes the textbook. Several cities in the early 1930s actively tried to suppress home gardens because commercial agriculture lobbied against them, arguing that families growing their own food suppressed grocery prices. That same pressure resurfaced during the war years and again in the 2000s, when municipalities fined residents for front yard vegetable plots. The underlying message never changed. They would rather sell you food than let you grow it. The families who ignored that message fed themselves through the worst economic collapse in American history. Number 15. Water pie. No eggs, no butter, no fruit, barely any sugar. And yet somehow, dessert still happened. Water pie sounds like a joke until you make it. Your grandmother mixed flour, a small measure of sugar, a splash of vanilla, and a thin pat of butter into an unbaked pie shell, then poured water over the top and slid it into the oven. The heat coaxed the sugar and flour together with the water into something resembling a vanilla custard filling, caramelized lightly on top. The whole thing cost a few pennies. Children eating it had no idea they were sitting at a table where the cupboards were nearly bare. They just knew it was Sunday, and there was pie. This recipe traveled through church cookbooks and community bulletins across the Midwest and South, quietly and without any corporate sponsor. No company could figure out how to profit from it, which is exactly why most people have never heard of it. When it resurfaced on social media recently, the reaction was shock that it actually tasted good. Your great-grandmother would not have been remotely surprised. Number 14. 3 ingredients that cleaned everything. The Depression-era cleaning cabinet held 3 things: white vinegar, baking soda, and lye soap. Vinegar cut through kitchen grease and killed bacteria on surfaces. Baking soda scoured stuck food from pots, freshened ice boxes, and polished silver. Homemade lye soap, rendered from saved cooking fats and wood ash, handled laundry, floors, dishes, and baths. A gallon of vinegar cost 15 cents and lasted a month. Baking soda was a nickel a box. The commercial cleaning supply industry barely existed in its current form during the Depression because families did not need it. After the war, chemical companies engineered a separate product for every surface in the house: window spray, tile scrub, oven degreaser, toilet solution, bathroom disinfectant, and convinced Americans that each one was essential. Today, the average household spends over $600 a year on cleaning products. Studies in the past decade have confirmed that a basic vinegar solution kills most common household bacteria as effectively as commercial sprays. The chemistry is unchanged. Our grandmothers were right the first time. Pattern break 1. The bone is worth more than the meat. Here is something the food industry has spent 90 years trying to push out of your memory. A soup bone from the butcher in 1932 cost 2 or 3 cents. Sometimes the butcher threw them in free. Your grandmother would put that bone on the stove and let it simmer for hours, sometimes stretching across 2 days, pulling every mineral, protein, and bit of collagen out of it. The resulting broth was golden and rich. She used it as the base for soups, stews, gravies, and as the cooking liquid for rice and dry beans. One bone fed a family across an entire week. Today, a small carton of bone broth at a health food store runs $8. Wellness influencers sip it from mugs like it is something new. Every benefit they describe is something your great-grandmother knew by default in 1934, and the store-bought version does not come close to what came off a wood stove after a full day of slow simmering. Number 12. Making the icebox work. Before electric refrigerators reached most homes, families relied on insulated wooden cabinets cooled by a block of ice delivered on a weekly schedule. Because ice cost money, managing what went in and where became a discipline. Dairy and meat sat closest to the ice block. Everything else got wrapped in damp cloths or layered with newspaper to hold moisture and temperature. The door opened as rarely as possible. The real ingenuity was the drip pan. Meltwater collected underneath the box. That cold water fed houseplants, was used for cleaning, and during the hottest stretches of summer, sometimes for drinking. Nothing wasted, not even the ice as it disappeared. When electric refrigerators arrived in the late 1930s, appliance companies ran campaigns mocking ice boxes as relics. They needed people to buy the new machines. But an entire generation had learned something priceless in the process, exactly how to manage food by how fast it spoils and how cold it needs to stay. Americans today refrigerate everything and throw away between 30 and 40% of what they buy. That generation threw away almost nothing. Number 11. Apple pie without a single apple. When apples were out of season or priced beyond reach, your grandmother made a pie that fooled nearly every guest who ate it. Soda crackers, soaked in a syrup of sugar, cream of tartar, cinnamon, and a squeeze of lemon juice, then baked inside a pie crust. The crackers softened into a texture nearly indistinguishable from cooked apple. Cream of tartar contributed the tartness. The spices and sugar handled the rest. This recipe actually appeared on the back of the Ritz cracker box starting in the 1930s and stayed there for decades. The chemistry is real. Cream of tartar replicates the malic acid naturally present in apples. Depression-era cooks were not just improvising out of desperation. They were reverse engineering flavor profiles with whatever sat on the pantry shelf. That is a different kind of intelligence, and it worked. Number 10. Newspaper as insulation. When heating fuel was expensive or unavailable, families turned to what they had. Old newspapers got layered into walls, stuffed between mattresses for warmth, and packed into the toes of shoes against the cold. Cellulose paper traps air, which means it genuinely insulates. Farm families stuffed newspapers into the gaps of barns and chicken coops. Children wore newspaper padding layered into their coats on the walk to school. Some families covered interior walls with newspapers and pasted catalog pages over them as wallpaper. A stack of papers cost nothing. They were shared, collected, and used until they fell apart. Today, insulation is a multi-billion-dollar industry. In the deepest winters of the 1930s, Americans were keeping families alive using yesterday's headlines and a pot of flour paste. Number 9. The pot that never emptied. Your grandmother kept a pot on the stove that did not so much get emptied and refilled as it evolved from day to day. Monday's vegetable scraps went in. Tuesday's chicken bones joined them. By Wednesday, carrot tops and onion skins and potato peels had built something layered and complex in that pot. By Thursday, the broth tasted like a French chef had been cooking it all week. It cost nothing beyond what the family had already paid for. The constant low heat kept bacteria from establishing. Every day, the soup changed slightly in character. Every day, it fed someone. This practice faded when refrigerators made storing leftovers separately convenient, but the pot was more efficient. It converted waste into meals with almost no additional effort or cost. American households today throw away billions of dollars worth of vegetable scraps every year that our grandmothers would have recognized as the foundation of the next meal. Pattern break 2: the barter economy. They tried to shut down. When cash dried up across the country, millions of Americans simply stopped using it for everything. Farmers traded eggs for haircuts. Seamstresses took in mending in exchange for firewood. Mechanics fixed engines for bushels of corn. Entire communities built local economies on handshake deals where no money changed hands and no receipts were written. By the late 1930s, the IRS had taken notice. Federal officials began pushing back on barter networks, arguing that goods and services exchanged at fair market value represented unreported income and that taxes were owed on them. Towns that had built functioning alternative economies were told to keep paying the government even when they had no money to pay with. The message was clear. The skills that made barter work, knowing how to value your own labor, negotiate fair exchanges, and build trust-based local economies, were quietly discouraged for the next several generations. Most Americans today genuinely could not function for a week without a paycheck. Our great-grandparents did it for a decade. Number 7. The kitchen windowsill garden. Celery bottoms, green onion roots, the sprouting end of a potato. Your grandmother did not throw any of it away. She set them in a shallow dish of water on the windowsill and watched new growth appear within a week. Green onions, lettuce, celery, and potato shoots all regenerated with nothing but water and light. This was not gardening. It was stretching groceries. A single bunch of green onions purchased for a few cents in 1935 could regenerate 3 or 4 full harvests before it was spent. Children watched those windowsill dishes the way kids today watch a screen. Mothers used those fresh greens to make thin broth look and taste like a real meal. The biology is identical today, but nobody teaches it because the grocery store needs you to buy a new bunch every week. Number 6. Corn cob jelly. After the corn was eaten, the stripped cobs went into a pot with water and boiled for 30 minutes. The strained liquid, combined with sugar and pectin, set into a pale amber jelly with a subtle, honey-like sweetness. Families who skipped the pectin reduced the liquid further into a thin syrup for biscuits and pancakes. Corn cobs release natural sugars during boiling. The flavor is quiet and earthy and genuine. A batch from 12 cobs filled 4 or 5 small jars. The corn was already purchased. The jelly was free. This recipe moved through farm communities from Iowa to Georgia, occasionally mentioned by extension agents, but never featured in official government pamphlets. Too simple, too cheap, and impossible to build a product around. When high-fructose corn syrup flooded the market in the 1970s, most people forgot the cobs were ever good for anything else. The families who still remember say it was better than anything that ever came out of a factory. Number 5. The cake that needed nothing. Eggs, butter, and milk were luxuries that disappeared from a lot of pantries. So American women invented a chocolate cake that required none of them. Crazy cake, sometimes called wacky cake, used flour, sugar, cocoa, baking soda, vinegar, vanilla, oil, and water. Mixed directly in the baking pan, 1 bowl, 1 spoon, straight into the oven. What came out was moist, tender chocolate cake that had no business being as good as it was. The whole thing cost pennies. It showed up at church potlucks and birthday parties throughout the Depression. And nobody complained about the absence of eggs or butter because the cake did not taste like anything was missing. The science, confirmed by food researchers decades later, is that the reaction between vinegar and baking soda aerates the batter through carbon dioxide production, in many cases more evenly than beaten eggs. Your grandmother figured that out in 1932 by accident and necessity. Number 4. Bread that was past its time. In a household where bread ran 6 cents a loaf, letting a stale loaf go to waste was not an option. Hard, dried bread got torn into pieces, soaked overnight in a mixture of milk, eggs, sugar, and vanilla, and baked into a pudding that came out golden and soft on the inside, slightly crisped on top. A handful of raisins, a pinch of cinnamon, maybe some nuts if they were available. Any bread worked. White sandwich bread, cornbread gone firm, biscuits that had dried solid. Even leftover cake scraps found their way into the pudding dish. Served warm, it was the kind of dessert that made children forget whatever else was going wrong. Restaurants today charge $14 for artisanal bread pudding. Your great-grandmother called it not wasting. The recipe has not changed at all, just the price tag. Number 3. Soap from the fire and the stove. This one has always made the chemical industry uncomfortable. Cooking fat was saved in a tin. Hardwood ash from the stove or fireplace was saved in a bucket. When enough of both had accumulated, your grandmother leached water through the ash to create lye, a powerful alkali. She heated the saved grease, carefully combined it with the lye water, and stirred the mixture for hours before pouring it into molds. After curing for a few weeks, the result was hard, effective soap that cleaned everything: clothes, dishes, floors, skin, and hair. It cost nothing to produce. The chemistry is called saponification, the same reaction commercial soap manufacturers use today. The difference is that industrial producers strip the glycerin from the finished soap and sell it separately to cosmetics companies. Your grandmother's soap kept the glycerin in, which is why it left skin softer than anything at the drugstore. After the war, Procter & Gamble and others launched campaigns painting homemade soap as unsanitary and old-fashioned. The skill nearly vanished. Today, artisan soap made by the exact same process sells for $8 to $12 a bar at farmers markets. Your great-grandmother made it for free. Number 2. 500 jars by October. In the fall of 1935, it was not unusual for a farm wife to fill 500 jars in a single season. Tomatoes, green beans, peaches, corn, pickles, relishes, sauerkraut, jams, and even meat, all sealed into ball and mason jars through boiling water baths or pressure canning. That row of jars in the root cellar was not decoration. It was the family's food security for the winter. 10 cents in seeds during April could become 40 jars of food by October. The jars cost $0.25 each and lasted for decades. Rubber seals ran a nickel for a dozen. The investment was almost nothing against what it provided. During the Depression, families that canned survived. Families dependent entirely on stores often went hungry when prices spiked or shelves went bare. The USDA actually promoted home canning during this period, but reversed course after the war. Frozen and factory canned goods were marketed as safer and superior, and home canning got reframed as a risk. The truth is that properly executed home canning is no less safe than any industrial process and produces food that tastes dramatically better. But factories cannot sell you what you make in your own kitchen. Number 1. The community that fed itself. The single greatest survival strategy of the Great Depression had nothing to do with a recipe or a household trick. It was the way ordinary Americans organized to care for each other when the formal systems fell short. Neighbors pooled tools, seeds, and labor. Churches ran soup kitchens funded by whatever families could spare, sometimes just a few cents a week. Women's clubs organized clothing exchanges so that children's outgrown coats and shoes moved to the next family who needed them. Men formed informal work crews, building and repairing for each other when no paying jobs existed. Farmers left their fields open after the harvest, so hungry families could glean whatever the machinery missed. Barbers gave haircuts for eggs. Doctors accepted firewood and chickens. Entire towns operated as single cooperative units, not because they were idealists, but because they could see their neighbors and knew what they needed. This kind of self-organized community terrified both government and industry. It demonstrated that people could survive outside the formal economy without institutional dependency. After the Depression ended, the push towards suburban isolation, automobile culture, and consumer spending quietly dismantled those neighborhood networks. Most Americans today do not know their neighbors' names. Our great-grandparents knew their neighbors' children's shoe sizes. Here is the challenge before you leave. Try one of these this week, just one. Save your bacon grease, simmer a bone into stock, regrow green onions on your windowsill, mix up a depression cake and taste what comes out of that pan. Then come back and tell me our grandparents were just being old-fashioned. Tell me they did not know things we have been handing corporations money to do for us ever since. I have a grease jar on my stove now. I made water pie last Sunday, and my kids asked for more. I boiled corn cobs, and the jelly that came off them was better than the store-bought honey sitting right next to it. Tell me in the comments which one you are going to try first. These were never just survival tricks. They were knowledge that entire industries were built on making you forget. Your great-grandparents knew it. Now you do too. That's the full rewrite. Same 20 hacks, same information and structure, but fully rephrased with rearranged sentence flow throughout. Let me know if you'd like any sections punched up, toned down, or adjusted for pacing.